Hey friends! So it is the last Sunday of 2019, and as is our tradition at Sacred, we take this Sunday off for a full church gathering and have church at home. So wanted to send out this video for everyone to just kind of have a short devotional. This won't be long, but just kind of some thinking points, or if you're gathering with someone else at your home this morning, whether it's a spouse or friends or family, or if you want to call up some believing friends, then you can have this conversation with them and have some talking points. So since it is church at home, I am at home and for this recording, and this is actually Ben's office downstairs in our house, and it is the only quiet place in our house for all of Christmas vacation. Even still, the kids are upstairs and watching TV, and so if it suddenly sounds like there's a herd of elephants on this video, it's church at home, y'all. So this morning I was just scrolling through Facebook feed, and one of the things I came across was an article that I've seen before, and it's not something that's news to me, but the discussion of what happened in what's recorded in the Gospels, the New Testament, that second portion of the Bible, after Jesus's birth. And so we are now in the Christmas season. Christmas is not over at the end of December 25th, and this is the season where we celebrate Christ's birth. But what happened right after that was a king, a civil leader who was power hungry and was terrified that this birth of a new king that he was being told about was going to take him out and take him out of power. The ruler at the time was so scared of losing power that Josephus, who is a historian from that time period, not in the Bible, but just a traditional historian, he writes that this leader actually had 2 or 3 of his sons killed because he was afraid they were going to take power before he wanted them to. And so it's recorded that one of the things this leader possibly did was to have all of the children, male children, 2 and under, be killed. And the goal here was to take out Jesus and this King of the Jews, this Messiah that was possibly, according to rumor, had been born. It echoes for us the story in the Old Testament of Moses being the one who was going to lead the people out of Egypt and out of slavery. And at the time of his birth, the civil leader was trying to take out all young children born because he did not want the Israelites, God's people, to gain any more power. So you've got this interesting echo from the Old Testament to the New Testament, and then you've got this story of supernaturally Mary and Joseph being told, like, you're in danger, this baby is in danger, so flee. And interestingly enough, they fled, and now you have the newborn king being a refugee, and he's in danger in his own land, and so they travel, and because of that, he's safe. Of course, we know the rest of the story, and about 3 decades later, he's killed by the state. So his whole life on earth was lived under this threat of being killed by the state. So super happy, right? Yay, Merry Christmas. PK, what are you talking about? But here's where I'm getting with this. So this passage and this idea of this happening shortly after his birth and us going into the new year, for me, just completely echoes back to one of my favorite verses in all of the Bible, and that's Micah 6:8. I love this verse so much that once I had to write a paper in college on this verse, and instead of being like a 10-page paper, it was a 20-page paper because I'm long-winded. And I just didn't know how to cut it down because there was just so much good stuff to talk about in this passage. Now, I'm not going to read you 20 pages on Micah 6:8 today, but I wanted to give you a little bit of context. The book of Micah is a prophecy book in the Old Testament, the first half of the Bible, and it's recorded by Micah, that prophet. Prophets in the Old Testament were men and women of God who God would supernaturally give them messages to give to the people. And we tend to think of prophecy as this is what's going to happen down the road, but so many times there's foretelling, and that happens, but there's also this truth telling that was most of the time what would happen. And it would be people of God, people who God had talked to, he had a covenant relationship with. He said, look, here's your part, here's my part, here's what I'll do, here's what you'll do in this relationship, here's how the blessings will work. There are consequences if we don't keep in this relationship. And, you know, God always, always, always kept his end of the relationship and always kept those promises of blessings. But people often failed in that relationship, and they often walked away and became comfortable in their own strength rather than relying on God's strength and his blessing in their life. And so God would send prophets to speak into their lives. And it was often, it sounds very harsh, it sounds very abrupt, but these were things that had been established for generations and things that people understood and knew. And so it was really just about coming back to the truth and coming back to the relationship. And in Micah 6, it talks about the Lord's case against Israel. And so it's these things that they're upset, but it's almost like they're also complacent. And I love in verse 3, chapter 6, verse 3, it says, "Oh, my people, what have I done to you? What have I done to make you tired of me? Answer me." And when I was reading that verse, it just kind of struck me. When God's saying to them, what have I done to make you tired of me? 2019 was a beast. Like, it was harsh. And I don't know if you felt that personally. I felt that personally. I think our family felt that. I know a lot of people I've talked to. Now, there were amazing things that happened in 2019, but a lot of people I know have been like, I'm done with this. Like, I am so ready for 2020. And I'm in that camp, man. I'm ready for 2020. I think God has got some incredible things coming for Sacred Church, for your life, for our family, for my life. And I'm excited about that. But I have to be honest that I'm ending this year tired. And when I am tired physically and when I am tired spiritually, without even realizing it, we probably place more of the blame for that on God than he absolutely would deserve, because what would he do to make us tired of him? He's a good God that teaches us and guides us and blesses us and provides for us. And so that question, what have I done to make you tired of me? Answer me. And then God goes on to basically count their blessings for them and to say, like, here's this, what I've done. And this is how we should end the year. This is how we should end the year, to saying, God, you've done this, and you've done this, and you've done this. And maybe this morning that's easy for you to just sit down with a piece of paper or in a conversation with somebody, or even just going back on, through your feed or something and saying, look at what God's done. Look what I've had opportunities for. Look at the friendships. Look at the relationships. Look at the lessons I've learned. Look at the things that have taught me something about myself, about who God is, about who I am in Christ this year, and go through that. It's such a powerful exercise to really reflect. And we talk about reflection. Especially this time of year, getting ready for the new year, we talk about reflection all the time, but do we do it in light of who God is and what he has done and what he is showing us? And after God kind of counts their blessings for them in Micah 6, the people are like, yeah, we've got to do something. It's kind of like they clue into this and they're like, oh, should we bring this? Should we do offerings? How should we handle this? Because we should be much more grateful than we actually are. And God's response to them is this famous verse that I just love. Know, O people, the Lord has told you what is good, and this is what he requires of you: to do what is right, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. It wasn't about burnt offerings. It wasn't about giving any more than they had. It wasn't about those things. It was just, can we go back to the basics? Do what is right. Love mercy. Walk humbly with your God. And that friends, is what I want 2020 to be about. I want it to be a time where, as individuals, but also as a church family, Sacred, that we embrace Micah 6:8 at a new level than we ever have before. The way I memorized this verse when I was younger was do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. Do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. So let's break that down and let's spend some time today for Church at Home reflecting on those 3 areas of our life. Do justice. Do what is right. What are some of the ways that God is calling you in the next year to step up your game or to change your game in doing what is right? There are opportunities that we have that we don't even recognize where we can bring God's justice into a situation, where we can say, you know what, what's happening here is wrong. And then we can speak the truth in love and say, this is what is right. This is how people should be treated. This is how we should take care of one another. This is what I should be doing to be a steward of justice. How are we doing what is right? Love mercy. You got to love it for yourself, and then you have to love it for others. I need the mercy of God in my life. I need God's forgiving power every single day, and I need to embrace his grace, and I need to embrace his mercy. And then I need to recognize that other people deserve it too. You know, it's interesting to say other people deserve it, because in my head, I'm like, well, but sometimes we feel like they don't. Well, I don't either, but I'm God's child, so he gives me mercy. Well, others are God's child as well. He created them. So doing what is right, the first part of this verse, is often the merciful thing. And it feels weird, like that doesn't go with justice. But man, are we talking about what is right as far as punishment or learning? Are we talking about mercy in an abundance and in just amazing provision for others? Are we talking about mercy in relationship and the fact that we're willing to forgive and move on? It doesn't mean everything's going to be the same. It doesn't mean, like we instantly trust people who have burned us. Like, we know that's not how it works in our lives in real life, But the idea of mercy is that I am going to treat you the way God treats me. And that is powerful. And I think some of us today, we also need to embrace that God gives us mercy and that God allows us to learn, and that is a gift that we all need to embrace. Do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. The third portion of that, walk humbly, is knowing that in all the mercy we've received, it's not in arrogance that we walk around. It's not in our own strength that we walk around. And it's not with this pride, with this pride of, hey, this is who I am and I get to do all of these things. And I'm too blessed to be stressed. Those are all just cliches that we say. To walk humbly with your God is to say, God, I need you. God, you're stronger than I am. God, I'm relying on you. God, I'm teachable. God, I want to learn your ways. Lord, I want to be more like you. And then listening for that direction, listening for what I've always called that louder than audible voice, like one of my mentors, Kurt Harlow, calls it. And following those nudges, those little pushes, those little pulls in various directions of how we do justice, how we love mercy. And then recognizing, I don't need the credit for any of this. Sacred, I want us individually and as a corporate family to embrace Micah 6:8. In 2020, I think God is calling us into some justice initiatives where we can make a difference. And in our city and in our world, we can help ensure that the right thing is happening. I also think that we can love mercy and we can embrace individuals, maybe even people who are watching this on Facebook or social media today, that you felt like you can't be embraced anywhere else. Sacred is ready to embrace you. We're ready to be your family because we love mercy and we recognize that we need it as well. And we are broken people who are walking humbly with our God. Sacred, we have to humble ourselves. We have to live generously beyond our imagination previously. We have to be willing to be less than so that He can be more than. We have to recognize all of the blessings we have. I don't want God to ask me again, what have I done to make you tired of me? Because I think when I lean into Micah 6:8, do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God, that I will never feel tired spiritually. I might feel tired physically, but it'll be that good tired. Like the hard day work tired. And I want us to do that together. So as you have church at home today, and as you reflect on those blessings and how you're ending 2019, together, may we pray that this verse can be something we embody and that we enact, and that we see a change in our world, that we see a change in our workplaces, that we see a change in our schools, that we see a change in our community, that we see a change in our home, and that we see a change in our own lives. You are loved, Sacred. Have a fantastic day.